Okay, hi, this is Miss Gross. So today I'm going to give you a design challenge after we read this book together. And the book I'm sure you're familiar with. It's about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. There's a lot of different ways to tell the story. So this one is called The Three Bears, a folktale classic, and I guess Paul Galdone, I'm not sure, um, authored this book. So this version. So here's the thing. We're going to go through the book, and then at the end, I'm going to tell you some stuff I want you to think about and your challenge, what you're going to make. And then after that, I want you to try making something. If you have permission from your parents to make things in the house and you have the tools and the materials that you need, can use to make something. And again, if you have permission to use all the stuff that you need to use, so always ask first. Um, but I'll ask you to do a couple things. And then if hopefully as time goes on, you'll be able to, if you have Google Classroom with me, so if you're in 2nd through 5th grade, you can upload pictures of what you made into my Google Classroom or a video telling about what you made and what your, how many prototypes you did and your strategies you used to get a successful model and all that kind of stuff. But right now, we're just going to read the book and I'll tell you what the challenge is and ask you some questions to think about, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so The Three Bears, a folktale classic, Paul Galdone or Galdon, I do not know. Sorry about that. So once upon a time, you should follow along while I'm reading also. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together in a house of their own in the woods. See the three bears. One of them was a little wee bear. One was a middle-sized bear. And the other one was a great big bear. They each had a bowl for their porridge. The little wee bear had a little wee bowl. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized bowl. And the great big bear had a great big bowl. Their spoons are all different sizes too. Notice that. They each had a chair to sit in. The little wee bear had a little wee chair. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized chair. Ooh, that rhymes, right? And the great big bear had a great big chair. And they each had a bed to sleep in. The little wee bear had a little wee bed. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized bed. And the great big bear had a great big bed. One morning, the three bears made porridge for breakfast, so porridge is like oatmeal, and poured it into their bowls. But it was too hot to eat. So they decided to go for a walk in the woods until it cooled. So you might hear my cat meowing in the background because he's annoyed I'm not paying attention to him. So please excuse that. And you can see here the porridge was really hot because there was like all this steam coming out of it. And then they're going on their walk. While the three bears were walking, a little girl named Goldilocks came to their house. So locks usually means hair in kind of like olden ways. So Goldilocks, she has golden hair. That's what that word comes from, Goldilocks. First, she looked in the window. Then she peeked through the keyhole. Of course, there was nobody inside. Goldilocks turned the handle of the door because the bears didn't lock their doors. Oh, the door was not locked because the three bears were trusting bears. They did no one any harm and never thought anyone would harm them. So Goldilocks opened the door and went right in. There was the porridge on the table. It smelled very, very good. Goldilocks didn't stop to think whose porridge it was. She went straight to it. First, she tasted the porridge of the great big bear, but it was too hot. Then she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but it was too cold. Then she tasted the porridge of the little wee bear. It was neither too cold nor too hot, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she ate it all up. Then Goldilocks went into the parlor to see what else she could find. So Goldilocks was only thinking about herself. She wasn't having any empathy for the whoever's house this was, that maybe she was eating their food and they would be hungry when they came home. Oops, sorry. So she went into the parlor, so the parlor's like the living room, to see what else she could find. There were 3 chairs. First she sat down in the chair of the great big bear, but it was too hard. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, but it was too soft. Then she sat down in the chair of the little wee bear. Of the little wee bear. It was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she rocked and rocked until the bottom of the chair fell out. Down she went plump onto the floor. Goldilocks went into the bedroom where the 3 bears slept. Okay, so again, she's breaking this chair and she just walks away. She doesn't think about somebody whose house it is that might be upset that their chair is broken. So Goldilocks went into the bedroom where the 3 bears slept. First, she lay down upon the bed of the great big bear, but it was too high at the head for her. Then she lay down in the bed of the middle-sized bear, but it was too high at the foot for her. Then she lay down upon the bed of the little wee bear. It was neither too high at the head nor too high at the foot, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she covered herself up and fell fast asleep. By this time, the 3 bears thought that their porridge would be cool enough, so they came home for breakfast. Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great big bear in his porridge bowl. He noticed it first thing. "Somebody has been tasting my porridge," said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had left the spoon of the middle-sized bear in her porridge too. "Somebody has been tasting my porridge," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear went to look at his bowl. "Somebody has been tasting my porridge and has eaten it all up," cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. The 3 bears went out to the parlor. Goldilocks had left the cushion crooked in the chair of the great big bear. He noticed it first thing. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had squashed down the cushion in the chair of the middle-sized bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his chair. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair and has sat right through it," cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. The 3 bears went into the bedroom. Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big bear out of place. He noticed it first thing. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had pulled the blanket of the middle-sized bear out of place. Excuse me, my cat just knocked something down. I will continue. Goldilocks had pulled the blanket of the middle-sized bear out of place. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his bed. "Somebody has been lying in my bed, and here she is!" cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. This woke Goldilocks up at once. There were the 3 bears, all staring at her. Goldilocks was so frightened that she tumbled out of bed and ran to the open window. Out she jumped, and she ran away as fast as she could, never looking back. Sorry, I read that wrong. And she ran away as fast as she could, never looking behind her. No one knows what happened to Goldilocks after that. As for the three bears, they never saw her again. Okay, so that's the end of that story. Now, here's your design challenge. You're going to build a chair for Baby Bear. Okay, and part of that challenge is to make the chair strong enough to hold something. So if we were at Makerspace, we might use a weight, but you're at home. So I'm thinking maybe if you have an apple or an onion in the refrigerator, you could use that. Be careful with it. Somebody's going to want to eat it later, so don't drop it and mush it up or whatever. If you have a parent that lifts weights, maybe you could ask permission to borrow, a 1 or 2 pound weight to test your chair with. So you're going to have to You're going to have to make a chair that's big enough to hold whatever you're going to test it with, right? So you can't make a little tiny chair if you can't even fit an apple in it. Okay, so before you start making, you have to think about what you're going to use to test it, so you can make sure that you make it the right size for that thing to be put in it. Okay, and again, check with your parents before you take anything to use to make stuff with, before you use any tools or, tools. And so if you're going to use, and you make sure that you're allowed to have a place to make stuff, and let them know when you're doing it. So if you're using anything sharp, you're probably going to need scissors for this. You can make the chair however you want, though. So if you can make it without scissors, that's totally up to you. But you have to let the adult in your household know that you're going to be making something and that you're going to be using scissors or whatever you're using. Okay, and make sure you clean up your mess. Okay, because a lot of people are probably stuck inside and everybody's there at the same time, when maybe in normal times they wouldn't be. So you make sure you clean up your mess and don't mess things up for somebody else. So so make sure that you're thinking about what you're going to use to test your chair, and so you know how big to make it, and think about what supplies you have, how you're going to make it. What I would like you to do, if you can, is think about that ahead of time, list your supplies on a paper, and then also kind of sketch out a drawing of what your chair is going to look like. And what can you do to make it stable? So stable means it's not going to fall down, right? So it's going to, and you all know how to make things stand up from Makerspace. And you can also watch some other videos that I put on the channel about making things stand up and putting together cardboard without tape. Okay, so you might try it on your own first, but if it's too frustrating for you to do it like that, watch my videos first, because they have some things that will help you with this particular project. But again, I would suggest you try on your own, see how far you can get like that, and then if you really need to, then go watch my videos about putting cardboard together without any tape. Okay, so then once you think about it, and once you plan it and get all your materials together and get whatever you're going to use to test your chair, whether it should be something that's a little bit heavy-ish, like that's small enough and heavy, so like an apple, as opposed to something that might weigh the same as an apple but it's fluffy. Like you might not want, like, unless you want to make it big, you could use one of your stuffed animals, but you want it to be a little bit heavy to test the chair. So you might want to put a stuffed animal with a couple apples on it if you're making it that big. And then see if it works. If it doesn't work, see what you can do to fix it and make it better. Make a second prototype, right? The first one you make is the first prototype. You test it, see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as well as you like, then you either change the one that you made or make a new one with some changes on it. Okay, So is your chair stable? Is it not falling down? Is it wobbly, right? And does it hold something in it? So those are the questions that you should be asking, or the challenge. Sorry, that's not the questions you should be asking. That's a challenge that you want to address. So I hope that you will be able to make, some of you will be able to make this. I would love it if you would take pictures of it, and we will figure out a way so you can get your pictures to me so I can see them. But for right now, ask your parents to take a picture with their phone, or if you haven't, if you have a tablet or something, you can take a picture like that, and we'll figure the getting the pictures to me part later. In the meantime, go make a chair for baby bear. Miss Gross is done for now. Bye-bye.